I knew my father didn't like me, but on the day of my sister's wedding, I learned that didn't like was a pathetic understatement. He despised me. I felt it in every glance he refused to give me, in every clipped word, and every time he praised my sister Lily like she'd single-handedly invented love and marriage, and acted like I was a piece of lint on his tux. But nothing compared to what he did next. Let we start from the beginning. My name is Emma, 23, family disappointment since birth, at least according to my father. I wasn't the golden child, I wasn't the overachiever, I wasn't the princess who could do no wrong. That was Lily, beautiful, graceful, angelic Lily, the girl my father worshipped, the girl whose wedding cost more than my entire college tuition, the girl I loved and envied and sometimes hated myself for resenting. But despite everything, I dressed up, curled my hair, and showed up early to help, because that's what sisters do, even ignored ones. The venue was gorgeous, an old stone mansion turned luxury event space, glowing with chandeliers and white roses. Everything looked like a magazine spread. Guests laughed and mingled in pearls and champagne-colored dresses, and there I was in the background, always the extra. The moment I walked in, my father spotted me, then immediately looked past me like searching for someone else. Anyone else. I swallowed the familiar sting. "Hi, Dad," I forced. Nothing. Not even a grunt. He just gave me a once-over, scanned my simple navy dress, and said, "You're standing too close to the photo area. Go wait in the back until we're ready for family pictures." Back. Like a broom closet. But I nodded, even though my chest felt heavy. I walked toward the hallway, but halfway there, a staff member, still wearing an apron, rushed out carrying boxes. "Oh," she gasped. "Sorry, I didn't see you there. Wait, are you the extra server they requested?" I blinked. No." She frowned. "Are you sure? You're not dressed like one of the guests." Something inside me cracked. I forced a tiny smile. "I'm a guest." "Oh, sorry," she said quickly, cheeks red. "I didn't mean to." "It's fine." I lied. I walked away before she could finish apologizing. But the worst was coming. Family pictures were happening outside by the fountain. I walked toward the group, just as Lily was finishing her solo bridal shots. She looked stunning. Soft curls, ivory lace, sparkles catching the sunlight. Her smile was warm when she saw me. "Emma," she squealed, "you look so pretty." I actually blushed. "Thanks. You look like a movie star." She giggled. But then Dad stepped in between us. "No individual photos with Emma," he told the photographer. "It's not necessary." My smile fell. "Dad," I whispered. Lily frowned. "Dad, stop. She's my sister." But he waved her off. "We're running behind. No time." There was time. He just didn't want me in any picture that might end up framed. I stepped back, throat tight. "Just do the others," I said softly. "It's okay." It wasn't okay. Nothing about this day had been okay. After pictures ended, guests began seating themselves inside the reception hall. I scanned the tables, looking for my name card. I saw bride's family, groom's family, friends, VIP. My name wasn't at any of them. Maybe I'd been placed near the back. I walked around more. Still nothing. I looked for Dad, and he approached before I could ask. His voice was sharp. "Looking for something?" "My seat." "It's in the back," he said. Relief washed through me. Until he pointed. And my stomach dropped. The back wasn't a guest table. It wasn't even in the same layout. It was a long fold-out table near the kitchen door. A table full of staff members, waiters, bussers, dish runners, all in aprons, eating quickly before the reception began. I froze. "But that's the staff table." "Yes," Dad said simply. "You will sit there." My breath caught. What? Why? His voice was low, harsh, humiliating. Because you are not ruining Lily's wedding. You're lucky you were invited. I'm her sister, I whispered, shaking. And I dressed up. I did everything right today. You don't belong with the main guests, he said, already walking away. Just sit there and stay out of the way. My face burned. People were watching, whispering. The waitstaff paused, confused. A server whispered, "Is she really sitting with us?" I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't believe he'd actually done it. I felt small, invisible, like a burden someone was trying to hide. One of the servers, a girl maybe 18, scooted over. "You can sit with us if you want," she said gently. That kindness hurt worse than the cruelty. I slowly sat down, hands trembling. A busboy slid me a glass of water. I murmured, "Thank you," but tears were burning behind my eyes. And because my life is cruelly ironic, this is where my CTA goes. If you're still reading this story and want more intense, emotional, twist-filled stories like this one, remember to subscribe to Scarlight's Stories. It helps support these dramatic series and keeps the stories coming. Back to the chaos. From my seat at the staff table, I could see the crystal chandeliers reflected in wine glasses, hear guests laughing, smell the rosemary chicken and truffle potatoes. Everyone was celebrating. Everyone except me. When Lily walked into the hall, radiant and glowing, she spotted me instantly. She frowned. "Emma, why are you sitting over there?" I tried to smile. Dad tried to intercept. "She likes it there," he lied quickly. She was making the real guests uncomfortable. My heart dropped. He was doubling down. Lily shook her head. "No, that's not true. Emma, come sit with us." Dad stepped closer to her. "No, she won't." Lily looked between us, confused and worried. "Dad, what are you talking about?" She insisted on sitting there. He lied again. "She said she didn't want to be part of the family group. Honestly, I think it's for the best." I opened my mouth to defend myself, but right then, the room went silent because someone had just walked in. Someone who wasn't invited. Someone who owned the entire mansion, the venue, the catering company, the event space, the billionaire owner of the estate. And when his eyes landed on me, sitting with the staff, his expression changed instantly. Everyone was about to learn the truth, including my father. I didn't touch the plate in front of me. I just sat there, my dress wrinkled, my makeup smudging from the tears I refused to let fall, watching the wedding reception swirl around me like a world I didn't belong to. Champagne glasses clicked, fairy lights twinkled, guests laughed and danced and toasted to love and family. Meanwhile, I was shoved at a table behind the floral archway, labeled event staff only. A table covered in spare napkins, water pitchers, and half-empty bread baskets. A table where my father thought I belonged. My sister, Julia, floated around the room in her silk gown like she owned the air itself. When she caught sight of me, she smiled. Not kindly, not sympathetically, but smugly, like she had finally put me in my place. The staff around me tried to be polite, offering me water, awkward small talk, but they clearly felt uncomfortable. They weren't the problem. They treated me better than my own blood had. I pulled the serving apron tighter around my waist, feeling more humiliated than I ever had in my life. Dad walked by only once, just long enough to whisper, "You should be grateful. At least you're here." I swallowed a sob. Grateful. For being exiled, hidden, erased. For being the daughter he never introduced, the one he only admitted existed when he needed free childcare or a scapegoat. I clenched my fork. No, I wasn't going to break down.
Not here. But then, as the DJ announced the father-daughter dance, I made the mistake of looking up. The spotlight landed on them. Dad and Julia. He held her hands gently, smiling like she was the sun itself. The room circled them with admiration. People sighed, cameras flashed. I watched it all from the shadows, invisible, unwanted, uninvited. My throat tightened. Tears stung my eyes. Why wasn't I good enough? What had I done wrong? Why was I always the one sacrificed so Julia could shine? My mother's absence weighed heavily in my chest. She would have never let this happen. At least, I hoped she wouldn't have. I stared at the dance floor until my vision blurred. That's when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned, expecting another staff member needing to grab sugar packets or cutlery. But instead, it was him, the man from earlier, the one who had watched me when I sat down, the one I assumed was a guest. Up close, he looked important. His posture was straight, confident. His suit was clearly custom-tailored. Not flashy, quietly expensive. His expression held the strangest mix of curiosity and concern. "Is this where you intended to sit?" he asked gently. My voice cracked. Yes." He tilted his head. "You're sure?" My hands twisted in my lap. My dad said I belong here." Something in his eyes darkened. Not anger at me. Anger for me. "I see," he murmured. "And do you agree with him?" I swallowed hard. "No, but it doesn't matter." "It matters," he said softly. "Everything about this matters." He glanced around the crowded hall, his eyes lingering on my father and Julia. "He saw what happened," he continued. "I saw him point you to this table. I saw your face." Heat flooded my cheeks. "I'm fine," I insisted.
"No," he said calmly. "You're pretending." His voice had a strange way of calming me, yet making me feel seen in a way I didn't know how to handle. "You shouldn't be here," he added. A bitter laugh escaped me. Well, according to my family, this is exactly where I should be. He pulled out the empty chair beside me and sat. The staff froze, whispering among themselves. I blinked at him. "What are you doing?" "Sitting with you," he said simply, since apparently this is the only part of the room with decent company. My lips twitched. Guests aren't allowed here. He smiled slightly. "Who said I'm a guest?" Before I could respond, a loud voice called across the room. "Sir, sir." The wedding coordinator, a woman in a sleek black suit, sprinted toward our table, panic plastered across her face. She stopped beside him, breathless. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Hale. We didn't see you arrive. Your security didn't check in. Your reserve table is ready. Please, come with me." The man beside me sighed. The room stilled. Guests turned. My father stopped mid-dance with Julia. A ripple of whispers swept through the crowd. "Is that? It can't be. Wait, that's him. That's the owner." The word hit my stomach like a hammer. Owner. Of the venue. Of the chain of luxury event halls. Of everything. Mr. Hale, yes, I recognize the name now, was not just important. He was the top of the ladder, the man everyone here would bow to, including my father. But he wasn't sitting with Julia, or the wealthy investors, or the bridal party. He was sitting with me. The girl shoved behind a floral wall. The coordinator's face switched from red to white to something between panic and confusion. She tried again. "Mr. Hale, your seat?" "I like mine," he said evenly.
She blinked. "Oh, well, of course, if you want. But, he continued, I would like to know why this table exists at all." The coordinator froze. "The staff table, sir?" His gaze sharpened. "No, that," he said, pointing to the sign. "Overflow staff seating." My father paled instantly. Julia's smile faltered.
The coordinator stammered, "Sir, it's just for organization. It's always been—" Mr. Hale turned fully toward me. "Did your father really ask the staff to put you here?" Every nerve in my body felt exposed. "He didn't ask," I whispered. "He told them." A hush swept the hall. My father's voice cracked through the silence. "Now hold on, this is being blown out of proportion." Mr. Hale raised a hand, silencing him instantly. Then he turned to me again. "Come with me." What? I stuttered. "You don't belong behind a wall," he said. "Not tonight, not ever." His tone was final, firm, absolute. I slowly stood. The entire hall watched. The staff parted to make space for me to walk through. The coordinator nearly tripped trying to apologize for everything. My father's face went red with embarrassment, then fury. Julia looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. As we walked, Mr. Hale leaned toward me. "I don't know what your story is," he said quietly, "but I can promise you something." I looked up at him, confused. "You'll never be invisible again." His words struck something deep inside me, something raw, something that made my eyes sting. He led me to a table near the front, the most expensive, most visible table in the room. People stared. My father walked toward us with stiff shoulders. I braced myself, but before he reached us, Mr. Hale spoke loudly, making sure the entire hall heard. "This young woman," he said, resting a hand lightly on the back of my chair, "deserves better than the treatment she received at night, and I intend to find out why she was placed with the staff instead of her family." A wave of gasps. My father choked on his words. My sister's bouquet slipped from her hand. And me? For the first time that night, I didn't feel small. But the night was far from over, because what my father said next was so cruel, so humiliating, so shocking, it changed everything. People talk about humiliation like it's a sharp, sudden pain. But for me, humiliation was slow, heavy, like carrying wet sand in my bones. Even after the owner, Mr. Castell, walked in, sat beside me, and treated me like I mattered, the embarrassment still clung to me like smoke. And I wasn't done burning, because the wedding only got worse from there.
Dinner had ended, and people began milling around the reception hall, taking photos, laughing, sipping champagne. The music warmed up, soft piano drifting across the space. The staff, my table, was cleaning. My sister, Miranda, was having the time of her life. My dad looked like a king walking among royalty, and I was blending into the wallpaper again. I slipped away from the table quietly. I wasn't ready to go home, but I wasn't staying there anymore either. Mr. Castell had already stepped outside to take a phone call, and I didn't want to look like I was following him. I wandered into the hallway, staring at the photos on the wall, old black and white pictures of the venue's history, when I heard hushed voices around the corner. I know I shouldn't have listened, but they weren't whispering about cake flavors or table placements. They were talking about me. "Honestly, I was shocked they let her in," a woman said. I recognized the voice. It was my aunt, my dad's sister, the one who always said I was sweet but simple. "Well, she is an embarrassment," another voice said, my dad's cousin this time. "What did John expect? She grew up on scholarship handouts. Of course she doesn't fit in." My stomach twisted. And sitting with the staff. That was generous. At least she didn't ruin the pictures. I felt my fingernails dig into my palms. They kept going. "She's not his real child, you know," someone whispered. I froze. My ears rang. "What? You didn't know?" my aunt hissed. "Everyone in the family knows, except her, I guess. John only stepped in because her mother showed up pregnant. He practically saved the girl from, well, you know." My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear the rest. Saved me from what? Saved me from whom? They don't talk about her biological father. Best to keep that sealed. My entire body turned cold. I stumbled backward, breath shaky, vision blurry. No, that couldn't be true. My mother died when I was 10. She left behind no family, no clues, no answers. Dad always said she didn't talk about the past because it hurt too much, but he never said, never hinted, never even suggested that he wasn't my real father. I couldn't breathe. I ran out of the hallway before I heard anything else. The cool night air hit my face as I stepped outside toward the garden patio. I leaned against a stone column, trying to breathe through the shock. My thoughts spiraled. If Dad wasn't my real father, if he'd only raised me out of obligation, if he'd always loved Miranda more. The chairs, the staff table, all of it. The back door creaked open behind me. "Are you all right?" I turned. It was Mr. Castell again. He had a way of appearing right when my world was falling apart. I wiped my eyes quickly. "I'm fine." He raised a brow. "You're crying." "I'm not crying." "You're definitely crying." I huffed out a shaky breath and rubbed my forehead. He walked closer, not intruding, just close enough that I felt less alone. "What happened?" he asked gently. I hesitated. Telling a stranger, well, not really a stranger now, felt strange, but he was the first adult in my life who treated me like a human being. "My family?" I whispered. "They don't want me here." "Yes," he said with a soft sigh. I noticed. "You did? The staff table?" He scoffed. "I've run corporations for 25 years. I know disdain when I see it." My lips trembled. "Why do they hate me so much?" I whispered. He shook his head. "They don't hate you. They're threatened by you." I blinked. "What?" "People like that cling to hierarchy," he explained. "They need to feel superior to someone to justify their own emptiness." I swallowed, tears slipping down my cheek. Then I whispered the part that felt like a knife. "I don't even know if my dad is really my dad." He didn't look shocked. He didn't look confused. He looked sad. Sometimes family isn't who raises you. Family is who chooses you. I pressed my palm to my mouth to stop myself from crying harder. He continued. "And for what it's worth, you deserved better tonight. Much better." I shook my head. "It's just a wedding." "No, it's not about the wedding. It's about the way they've treated you your entire life." My voice cracked. "How would you know?" He hesitated. "I can tell. It's in the way you stand, the way you shrink yourself, the way you apologize for taking up space, even when you haven't said a word." I looked away, throat tightening. He stepped a little closer. "You don't deserve to live like that," he said softly, "and one day, you won't." A tear slipped down my cheek. I don't even know who I am, or where I come from. He held my gaze. "Then maybe it's time to find out." Before I could reply, the door behind us slammed open. My father stormed out. His face was red, rage red. "There you are!" he snapped. "I've been looking everywhere." I flinched instinctively.
His eyes flicked to Mr. Castell. "What are you doing talking to her?" my father demanded. Mr. Castell's expression didn't change. "Having a conversation." "She's fine," my dad said sharply. "She doesn't need your pity." He grabbed my arm. I winced. "Dad, we're leaving." "No," I said quietly. "I'm not." He spun around. "What did you say?" I lifted my chin. "I'm not leaving." His face twisted. Then he hissed, "You're humiliating me. Again. Haven't you done enough tonight?" I shot back. "Or you." His jaw tensed. "You will get in the car. Now." I ripped my arm from his grip. "No." He leaned in, voice low and venomous. "You're lucky I took you in. Never forget that." I froze. There it was, spoken out loud. The thing I wasn't supposed to know. The thing whispered about behind my back. Mr. Castell's eyes darkened. "Dangerous." "John," he said, stepping forward, "you should watch how you speak to her." "You stay out of this," my father snapped. "Gladly," Castell said, "once she tells me to step away. But she hasn't." My dad scoffed. "You think she needs you? You think you're some kind of hero?" "No," Castell said, "but unlike you, I'm not trying to break her." My father went pale, then red. "How dare you?" "I dare," Castell said calmly, "because someone needs to stand up for her. And clearly, it's not her family." My dad's eyes shot to me, seething. "You don't know what you're doing. You don't know who you're talking to." He stormed back inside the ballroom, slamming the door so hard it echoed. I stood frozen, heart pounding. Castell turned to me.
"Are you okay?" I nodded weakly. I think so. But inside, everything was coming undone. My father wasn't really my father. My family despised me. And the only person who treated me with kindness was the owner of the wedding venue. I didn't know if I could trust him, but I did know one thing. Tonight wasn't over. Not even close. Because when I walked back inside, everyone was staring at me. And my sister, my perfect, beloved sister, was standing on the stage, microphone in hand. Her face was white with fury. She pointed directly at me. "You," she shouted in front of the entire wedding, "are ruining everything." And that was the moment. The entire wedding fell apart. I had braced myself for a confrontation. I had braced for my dad storming over, yanking me away from the owner's table and humiliating me in front of everyone all over again. I had braced for whispers, glares, and judgment pouring down on me like acid. But I never expected what happened next. The ballroom doors opened again. This time, it wasn't staff. It wasn't a guest. It was my sister, Sabrina, the bride. Her hair was slightly undone, her veil pushed back, her makeup smudged like she'd been crying. She stood in the doorway, staring at me, at the table, at Mr. Hale, at my father. And her face, oh God, her face looked like realization and heartbreak had collided all at once. She walked straight towards us. Her heels clicked like gunshots. Dad stepped forward, whisper shouting, "You're supposed to be doing your first dance." She didn't even glance at him. She stopped in front of me. "Is it true?" she asked, breathless. I blinked. "Is what true? That Dad made you sit with the staff?" Her voice cracked on the last word. Everyone had turned to watch now. Waiters froze mid-step. Guests held their breath. I swallowed. "Yes," I said quietly. "He did." She stared at me. Her lips trembled. Her eyes glistened.
Why? She whispered. Dad jumped in, furious. Because she didn't contribute anything. She didn't help. She doesn't bring value to... Stop. Sabrina turned on him so sharply, he actually flinched. The entire room went silent. Dad, she whispered, she is my sister, not an employee, not a disposable burden, not someone you treat like trash because she works a normal job. He sputtered. She's accomplished more kindness than you've managed in a lifetime. My chest tightened. She wasn't done. She pointed at the table, my original table, the one she'd carefully arranged. That seat was supposed to be right next to mine. You pushed her away. You embarrassed her. You made my wedding, my day, about your ego. I felt tears prick my eyes. My sister had spent months telling me she wanted us closer. I never believed her, even though I wanted to. You were supposed to sit beside me, she whispered again. I saved the seat for you. Then she faced the room, everyone watching. My father disrespected my sister, and I won't allow that. Dad lunged forward. Don't air our family's private issues in front of... You started this publicly, not her. Wedding guests exchanged uncomfortable glances. But before Dad could fire back, Mrs. Hale, the owner's wife, stood up, and she walked right up to me. Honey, come sit with us. Her tone was warm, motherly, soft, everything I had never gotten from the woman who raised me. Mr. Hale offered his hand. Please, he said, you belong at this table.
For a moment, a single, breathless moment, it felt like time paused. My father looked furious. My sister looked hopeful. The guests looked shocked. And me, I felt seen, wanted, included. But that wasn't the end. Because just as I moved to sit, one of the waitstaff, a young girl about 18, whispered to me, "He said you weren't family." I froze. The words hit so hard my vision blurred. "What?" Sabrina asked. The waitress hesitated. Then she said it louder. "Your father told us she wasn't family, that she didn't deserve a guest seat." Dad's face drained of all color. Sabrina gasped. My breath left my body. The waitress looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, I didn't want to say anything, but it wasn't fair." The room erupted. "He what? How could he? That's disgusting." Dad pointed at me, shaking with anger. "You had no right to embarrass me today." My throat tightened. "I didn't do this. You did." Sabrina walked up to him, and then, in a voice so cold it could freeze the sun, she said, "Leave." Dad recoiled. "What?" "You heard me. Leave my wedding." Gasps. Shock. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Dad turned red, purple, then pale. "You're choosing her over me? I'm choosing the person who's never hurt me, not the one who has. I paid for this wedding." Dad snapped. "No," Sabrina said calmly. "You contributed money. My sister contributed love." And then she said something that nearly made me collapse in tears. "And love is worth more." Dad looked at me with murderous rage. "You're destroying this family." "No," I said softly. "You destroyed it long before today." Security, yes, actual security, stepped forward at the owner's command. And my father, my biological father, was escorted out of the wedding. My sister was shaking. She threw her arms around me. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I never wanted this. I never knew how badly he treated you." I hugged her back tightly. "It's okay," I whispered. "You know now." And then, as if the universe wanted to mark the moment, the band began playing. Softly, gently, a new beginning. Sabrina took a shaky breath.
I still want you beside me, she said. Will you come sit with me at the head table? My voice broke as I answered, I'd love to. And just like that, the entire night changed. But the real twist? That came later, during the father-daughter dance, when the owner himself stepped in for a moment that made every jaw drop and changed everything. The room exploded the moment the owner, my mother's best friend Ava Sinclair, stepped inside. Except she wasn't just the owner. She was the co-owner of Dad's entire company, something he conveniently forgot to mention. Gasps rippled through the hall like a shockwave. Dad's face drained of all color. My sister froze halfway through laughing with her bridesmaids. Ava walked straight toward me, ignoring every camera, every whisper, every stunned face, and pulled me into a hug so tight it nearly knocked the wind out of me. There you are, she whispered, voice full of emotion. Your mother would never forgive me if I let him treat you like this. My breath shook. You saw? Oh, sweetheart, Ava said, pulling back. I saw everything. Dad moved quickly now, fake smile plastered across his face. Ava, how wonderful to see you. Welcome. Don't. She held up a hand. A single word, a single gesture. And she shut him down like he was a misbehaving child. My sister stepped forward, annoyed. Ava, this is a private family matter. We don't need... Ava turned slowly. Her eyes sharpened. Sweetheart, you stood there and watched your father humiliate your sister in front of your guests. That makes it my business. My sister's jaw clenched. I felt all eyes shift toward me. But for the first time that day, I wasn't shrinking. I wasn't apologizing. I wasn't pretending I didn't care. I stood tall.
Ava gently lifted my chin. You hold your head high, sweetheart. Then she raised her voice, loud enough for the entire wedding hall to hear, because this young woman owns 51% of the Sinclair-Robb Group's voting shares. Every guest froze. Someone dropped a champagne flute. Dad stumbled forward. Ava, stop. Don't say another... I'll say whatever I want, because I'm tired of watching you bully the child of the woman who built this empire with me. Whispers shot through the room like electricity. She owns the company? Wait, she does? That's the bride's sister? Oh my God! Dad laughed nervously, voice cracking. Ava, you're confused. She's just a child. She doesn't understand business. Ava faced him, jaw tight. She is 21, legally an adult, legally the majority shareholder, legally the person you should have been grooming to run the company, not shoving into the shadows. But she snapped. No, no more. Dad swallowed hard. My sister chimed in, panic rising in her voice. Is this some kind of joke? I'm the one who's supposed to inherit everything. Dad lied, Ava said. The bride's face twisted. The guests murmured again. Ava turned to the crowd. Her mother, my best friend, left everything to her younger daughter because she knew Rebecca already had everything handed to her. Rebecca's face flushed red. What? She left the business shares, Ava continued, to the one child who needed protection. My throat tightened. Protection? Ava placed a gentle hand on my back. Your mother saw what your father was becoming. She begged me to promise I'd take care of you. I blinked back tears. Dad stepped forward, hands trembling. Ava, please, don't do this here. You did this. When you shoved your own daughter into the back with the staff and told the waiters not to serve her. The entire hall erupted in shocked noises. A few guests even glared at him openly. Dad's face twisted. You're making it sound worse than it is worse, and I'm done covering for you. Rebecca shook her head, eyes wide with disbelief. So you're telling me everything I've worked for, everything I've expected, all of it goes to her? I met her eyes. She looked at me like I was a stranger. No, Ava corrected. Her mother's shares go to her. My shares go to her. And the board has already approved the transition. Rebecca staggered back. She nearly fell into her wedding cake.
No, she screamed. This is my day. It's my life, I said gently, and I'm sorry you found out this way. But you never treated me like a sister. Not once. A hush fell again. For the first time, Rebecca's expression shifted. Not anger, not disgust, fear. But not fear of losing me. Fear of losing everything she'd always assumed was hers. Dad reached for me, desperate. Sweetheart, we can talk about this. I stepped back. No, we've talked for years. You've ignored me for years. Please, I didn't mean to. Yes, I said softly. You did. His mouth opened, closed, opened again, but nothing came out. He sank into a chair, face ghost white. Ava turned to the wedding coordinator. I want her moved to the head table, she said, immediately. I shook my head. No, I whispered. Not because I'm being forced, not because they're embarrassed. Ava raised a brow. I turned to Dad and Rebecca, who were watching me with a mix of shock and dread. Then I looked out over the guests. I'll sit anywhere I want, I said, but I won't sit somewhere just to spite people who never loved me in the first place. A collective gasp filled the room. I continued. I'm done chasing approval. I'm done being the quiet one. I'm done apologizing for existing. A long silence. Then someone in the back began clapping. Then another, and suddenly the entire room erupted into applause. Even the staff smiled at me, some with tears in their eyes. This time, I didn't shrink. I didn't look down. I stood taller. Ava whispered, "That's your mother speaking through you." That nearly broke me. Nearly. Halfway through the applause, she leaned in and murmured, "And sweetheart, if you're loving this story, make sure you subscribe to Scarlight Stories." I almost laughed, almost cried. It was the perfect break in the storm. Dad quietly stood and slipped out the side door. Rebecca followed him like a ghost. Their absence didn't go unnoticed. But for once, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt free. Hours later, when the crowd had thinned and the sky turned pink, Ava walked me to her car. "You're not alone," she said softly. "You haven't been for years. You just didn't know." I hugged her, feeling my mother in her arms. "What do I do now?" I whispered. She smiled. "You step into the power you always had." I breathed in the quiet evening air. For the first time in my life, I believed her.